And join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, could we have the roll call, please?
Mayor Hyder,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Voorhees,
Here.
Alderman Larada,
Here.
Alderman Aiken, Alderman Bell.
Is ill this evening, so she can't join us. Okay. Are there any additions or amendments to the agenda for this evening?
Mayor, Council, slight change on number 9. The presentation will be made by City Attorney McCaskey,
Oh,
and that'll lead into item number 10 as well,
okay.
which is already,
I think he's already done for that.
yes.
Okay, does anyone on the city council have a conflict of interest with any item on the agenda? Or believe that anyone else on council has a conflict of interest? Seeing none, move on to the consent agenda. These are items that can be decided without further discussion. Does anybody on council wish to pull anything off of the consent agenda, which tonight consists of the bill list of April 27th and the city council minutes of May 1st? Seeing none, could I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move to approve the consent agenda, which consists of the regular bill list through April 27, 2018, and city council minutes May 1st, 2018.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Our next item is the public forum for audience participation, which is about items on the agenda excluding the public hearing item, which will have its own audience time. So, is there anybody that wishes to speak at this time? No one has signed up. I don't see any hands going up. So we will move on to the public hearing on ordinance number 1804, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Central Colorado, amending section 2-1-20 of the municipal code concerning write-in candidate affidavits and adding a new section 2-1-30 to the municipal code regarding cancellation of election. Could we hear from our city clerk, Reva Bechtel?
Madam Mayor and Council, I have reviewed this at the last meeting. It is designed to correct some of the code. The municipal code refers election information to the state statutes. In one place in our election code, though, we did have a 20-day write-in candidate limit, and that needs to change to 64 days due to the state statute changes, which are based on overseas voters and mailing those ballots overseas. So we need to extend that date. And at the same time, we went ahead and added so that's the write-in candidate. We went ahead and added the cancellation of elections, which will be done by the 64th day before the election, also because of the overseas voters' ballots that need to go out.
Okay. I will then open the public hearing to anybody who wishes to testify about this ordinance, and I will open it at 7:08 p.m. Does anyone wish to testify? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing at 7:09 p.m. Do we have a motion?
I move to approve ordinance number 1804, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Central Colorado, amending section 2-1-20 of the Municipal Code concerning writing candidate affidavits and adding a new section 2-1-30 to the Municipal Code regarding the cancellation of elections.
Second?
It has been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The motion passes unanimously. Our next item on the agenda is a fun one. Has to do with the Central City Promise Program request from Austin Bolter.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, council members. The city is in receipt of a Promise Program request in the amount of $5,000 from Mr. Bolter. The Central City Program was initiated by the city to encourage students to pursue a post-secondary education. He is a first-time applicant, and under the program, each applicant is eligible for $20,000 in funding. And with that, I'll let Mr. Austin introduce himself and provide a little bit of, just an introduction. A little bit of information regarding himself as well as the degree he plans to pursue.
Welcome, Austin.
Right now I'm a student at Gilpin County High School. I graduate this Saturday, and I plan to pursue my future education at Colorado University at Boulder to study business administration.
Great.
And you have excellent credentials here, so I would just make a motion to approve. For any further discussion?
And I'll second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It passes unanimously. Congratulations. And congratulations to your parents as well. Good job. We expect to see you back next year asking for some more. Okay. Our next item is resolution number 18-10, resolution of the City Council of the City of Central Colorado confirming the establishment of the Central City Water Fund Enterprise. Mr. Nelson, I believe it's you. Oh, that's right. Sorry.
Okay, thank
Mr.
you.
Attorney.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Resolution 1810 confirms the prior establishment of the Central City Water Fund Enterprise. The enterprise, based on our review of the historical records from the city, including budgets that were adopted in the 1993-1994 timeframe, it appears that the water enterprise was formed in 1993 following the passage of Tabor by the electorate in the state of Colorado. This resolution is related to the ordinance that will be coming before you tonight on first reading and is next on the agenda. The enterprise is currently planning on issuing bonds in the amount of $610,000 and will be entering into a loan agreement with the Colorado Water Resources and Power Development Authority. I'll refer to that entity as the authority. As part of the closing that's contemplated on the enterprise bonds, bond counsel, who in this case is Paul Weiser representing the city, in discussions with Mr. Weiser and with the authority, typically in the closing, the authority will ask for the original resolution or ordinance creating the enterprise. REBA was very diligent in reviewing the historical records of the city. We were not able to find that easily. In order to call off the search, we decided that we would just propose a resolution ratifying and confirming the formation of the prior formation of the enterprise. And that's what this resolution is accomplishing. Just to point out a couple of the highlights of the resolution, confirms that the Water Enterprise Fund of the city is an enterprise under Tabor, Article 10, Section 20 of the Colorado Constitution. It also constitutes a water activity enterprise as defined in Article 45.1 of Title 37, Colorado Revised Statutes. Section 2 of the resolution confirms that the governing body of the enterprise is City Council and therefore is subject to all applicable laws, rules, and regulations pertaining to the City Council. And if you have any questions on the resolution, I'd be happy to answer them at this point. But again, the main purpose of this is to simply ratify the prior formation of the enterprise so that we have that box checked when we go to proceed to closing, currently scheduled for May 31st.
So the amount was, it's kind of I think what I was reading was that that we're putting it up for bid for this amount, or is that?
Well, yeah, and you know, Mr. Nelson can probably give you a little bit more detail in terms of the timing, but this project has been, the bid package has been put on the street. I'm not sure what the deadline is for the submittal of the bids.
May 22nd.
May 22nd. So it'll be interesting to see what the bids come in at. The loan amount that has been authorized by the authority is $610,000, and we can discuss that in a little bit more detail later. But just to give you the general overview, it's a 30-year loan with the authority at an interest rate of 0%. And I, after hearing those terms, reached out to the authority to see if I could refinance my mortgage. And they told me no.
Gee whiz.
Same deal with the park going out.
But it is a really good loan. It is a great loan program, and we're hopeful that the bids come in around the engineer's estimate, and that the $610,000 is adequate to achieve the goals of the project, which mainly are the replacement of 2 diversion structures related to the city's intake water system, Miners Gulch and Peck's Gulch, and also rehabilitating the Broomfield Gulch diversion structure, which I know some of you took Mr. Nelson up on his offer to go and visit those structures this past summer.
It's amazing they've been working all this time.
So the Broomfield one, is that the last one at the top, or is that one of the lower ones?
That's the one in the middle.
Okay.
The one at the top is Miners.
Okay.
And that's probably, as we can estimate, that's pretty much all of Central City's water comes from Miners. Peck's intake structure is pretty much a
Is Miners the one we have most of the, like our water rights are closer to the top?
We can pull the most from Miners, that is correct. I can't remember.
Miners Gulch and Peck's Gulch
Peck's, yeah.
were to create the same amount of water measured in CFS, Broomfield Gulch being significantly less. Currently, we're getting the majority of the water from Miners Gulch, being the highest in the snow mountains to accumulate the best up there.
The majority of our absolute rights are with both Miners and Peck's.
Now, when I was up there with you guys, there was like some, I mean, the pipes going down were just, you know, it was amazing where they were, you know, they were buried where they were. And is any of that going to be rehabilitated, or is it just mainly the intake?
Well, as best as we can figure from our records, a good portion of that line coming down from the intake structures has been rehabilitated, which is really good news. And we've been attempting to follow it also, so we have a better idea of where this line is. We follow the tree cut. So yeah, that is some good news that line is in pretty good shape. So the bulk of this, I mean, pretty much all this loan is going to go to the structures themselves. And just for your information, the engineer's estimate came in at $490,000. Is that correct?
I couldn't tell you.
I think it's 400. I'm pretty sure it's 490,000. And then the 610,000, that would be overage.
Yeah, because that's going to be hard. I mean, getting vehicles up there, I don't think you can get a cement truck up there, right?
Probably not.
The engineers actually looked at a couple different options that the Forest Service would be okay with. We currently have a renewed special use permit specifically for limited construction up there. So there's been some discussion about precast solutions, as well as all the way up to having a helicopter going with a full build structure. And temporary batch plants have been discussed as well. So that will depend on those that are submitting their proposals. And so we'll be taking a look at that and balancing the cost with the approach. And then also, just as a reminder for those that went up there, as you're heading up, the one at the very end is Miners. The one on the right-hand side that goes down into the trees and ultimately is just a channel that gets into a gallery, that's PEX. And then the one off to the left is Broomfield, the one that comes down with that pipe. And that's the one that we have mostly conditional rights on and the lesser of the absolute. So.
Just as a side note, we were able to make it up today. The first time this season, we made it all the way up to Miners.
Maybe not a good sign of our snowpack.
There was still, he drove.
There
Yeah.
Has to be.
That's a go over.
The precast, I think eventually you probably have to, I'm thinking helicopter.
Yeah.
It seems like the logical thing from what I looked at up there is,
Okay.
you know, unless you haul a bunch of cement up there, and, you know, it's, some places that road is just really hairy, you know. Anyway, have you got any bids yet, or you?
We're hoping, we had a couple of local companies, one particularly very close to Gilpin County that has experience kind of in unusual, construction areas, and he, that company, they didn't balk at the notion that it was so remote or that it may be a little difficult to get at. So we're hoping, we're crossing our fingers that we'll at least get two. That's what we're hoping for.
And right now, the proposed closing date is May 31st. I think that's what Marcus mentioned earlier, and that would be then ahead of schedule for the closing and the award date. So.
I would, if we only had one bid and it was close to our price there, I'd be okay with that. But that's a piece of work up there.
Well, and you may recall from the tow drain that we had just one bid, and it was 2 or 3 times the cost of what the engineer's estimate was. And so we had to go back to the drawing board and figure out how to do that, and Jason and Jack were very creative in working with Will Ratz from W2 Engineers and figuring out how to essentially do that in-house with subcontractors. And so that's how it came in within budget. But this is just the resolution as a reminder that just confirms that we have the enterprise fund, and then we'll go into the first reading, and then any more questions about the agreement or the loan, we can answer then.
And I think everybody should be aware that this is essential for our water rights. Keeping our water rights is very, very essential to this town and any town. So then I think part of this whole deal is to satisfy the water commission on our, wanting to keep these water rights.
Along those lines with water rights, if I may add something, this is actually, Jack discovered this, part of our water rights is, all that water from those structures have to be separately metered.
Yeah.
Due to the remoteness, finding a way to meter that water, to store that data, it's too far to transmit like we would in town. And solar was out because people would shoot it. Well, Jack was able to find a state-of-the-art, they're called mag meters. They're self-powered, and they use a magnetic field to gauge the flow of water. It has a data logger, and our plan is to, we'll just let it run, you know, when we can't get up there, and then we'll download the data when we do get up there, and that should, we're hoping that should satisfy our requirements.
And those are the requirements, if you'll recall, from the, our diligence period and the decree that then we entered into the settlement agreement with Blackhawk. And so this is part of that, as well as part of the bigger picture with water rights in general.
Very important.
I think this is wonderful that we're doing this.
Well, the amount is only going to be a little over $10,000 a year.
I move to approve resolution number 1810, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Central Colorado confirming the establishment of the Central City Water Fund Enterprise.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, agenda item number 10 is related to this one, and I believe they're still up. Mr. Attorney?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is ordinance 1805. It's on your agenda for first reading this evening. Staff is asking that the ordinance be adopted on first reading and that the public hearing be scheduled for your May 29th, your meeting of May 29th, which will be on Tuesday instead of Monday due to the Memorial Day holiday. This ordinance authorizes the enterprise to issue the Series 2008 bond in the amount of up to $610,000. As I mentioned earlier, that does have a 30-year term, 0% interest rate. It also authorizes the enterprise to enter into the loan agreement with the authority. As Daniel mentioned, the closing is tentatively scheduled for May 31st, which will be 2 days following second reading of the ordinance. I will point out that page 2 of the City Council communication form does have some background information as pertains to the schedule of the project. As Mr. Nelson mentioned, the invitation for bids for the project at that Diversion Structures was issued on April 24th. The bids are due May 22nd, which is a week from today. Currently, city staff is anticipating that the contract, the construction contract will be awarded on or about June 5th, and that construction would start on or about June 19th, with substantial completion targeted for September 30th, and final completion that would be following the completion of any punch list items that are recommended by Will Ratz, the city engineer, as well as city staff. The final completion date is targeted for October 31st. Also included in your packet is the current working draft of the proposed loan agreement between the authority and the Water Fund Enterprise. I'm happy to answer any questions regarding the loan agreement, but again, the main terms are it's a 30-year repayment period at a 0% interest rate. We do not have a final amortization schedule included in the packet as of yet, but that will be distributed to you with the specific repayment dates over the 30-year term, and what those amounts will be in each year. That will be information that will be distributed to you on second reading. So again, we're just asking you to approve this ordinance on first reading tonight and set the second reading and public hearing for the May 29th meeting.
Okay, thank you. Any more questions? Do you have a motion?
It's a big one. I move to approve ordinance number 1805, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Central Colorado, acting by and through its Water Fund Enterprise, authorizing the issuance of the Enterprise Bond, Series 2018, and the execution and delivery of a direct loan agreement and related documents for the purpose of replacing 2 diversion structures, Miners Gulch and Peck's Gulch diversion structures, and rehabilitating the Broomfield Gulch diversion structure and associated, can't say it.
Appurtenances.
Thank you. And paying the cost of issuing the bond on first reading and further move that second reading and public hearing on the ordinance be scheduled for Tuesday, May 29th, 2018 at 7 p.m. to be held in these council chambers.
Second.
Good job. I actually had to look up appurtenances this afternoon.
It wasn't even coming out right.
Say it real fast 10 times.
No, I can't.
Real fast.
It's easier to say related stuff.
Yeah.
But-
Almost did.
Okay.
Okay, it has been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All right. Moving right along, but changing the topic, is agenda item number 11 regarding ordinance 1806, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Central Colorado, amending certain provisions of Article 3 of Chapter 4 of the Municipal Code concerning the municipal audit process. Abigail Robbins?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Madam Mayor, council members. The city recently contracted with Revenue Recovery Group to perform sales tax audits of gaming entities and marijuana dispensaries. In the beginning of the process, RRG recommended certain amendments to Article 3 of Chapter 4 concerning the municipal audit process that were not clear. So via this ordinance, it amends Section 4-3-168 by clarifying the city's requirements regarding the deficient tax returns. And it also adds Section 4-3-250, which sets forth the requirements and time periods for tax audits and tax collection by the city. So staff is requesting approval of ordinance 18-06 on first reading and scheduling second reading and a public hearing of this ordinance for May 29th, 2018.
Thank you. Any questions? Could I have a motion?
I move to approve ordinance 18-06, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Central Colorado, amending certain provisions of Article 3 of Chapter 4 of the Municipal Code concerning the municipal audit process on first reading, and further move that second reading and public hearing on the ordinance be scheduled for Tuesday, May 29th, 2018 at 7 p.m. to be held in these council chambers.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Moving right along, we have the okay, staff report.
Mayor, council, you have some staff reports in your packet, and staff will be available to answer any questions you may have. And then after that, if there aren't any more questions, we'll go into the Excel update. Are there any questions about the staff reports or any other questions? Okay. So the Excel update, this is following up on the discussion that we had, or the update that we provided at the last meeting on the 1st. And these are the requests for new service, new power poles and new lights, specifically at the intersection of Nevada and Spruce Street, and also at the intersection of Virginia Canyon and Lake Gulch. We were previously provided with very high numbers from Excel. One of those, I believe, at the time was approximately $8,000, and the other one $22,000. We requested those numbers and those quotes in writing, and have discovered that there was a mistake that was made in their numbers, and so the numbers actually will be $2,730.20 for the Spruce Street light, and the new light service up at Lake Gulch and Virginia Canyon would be $7,538.13.
That's a big difference.
Bigger, yay.
There is more to the installation, and the electric run for the second request that we have. Both of those have, however, been designed, and so the engineering is complete, and what we're looking for right now is some direction. The total amount is, for the two, if we were to proceed this year, would be $10,268.33. So the question and the request for direction is, how would council like us to proceed? We don't have a specific line item for these requests in the 2018 budget. However, if instructed, we could bring back or make the determination as to what funds we could use. And if that requires a supplemental appropriation, we would bring that back to council. If not, then that may be something that we can cover within our funds. But the other alternative could be that we take them in order of the submission. And so the Spruce Street was the first, and then the second was Lake Gulch. And so that also carries a lower price tag of just under $3,000. And so really just looking at how council would like us to move forward. And also, if you'd like both of them, we can come back with a solution for that as well.
I think we like both of them.
Yeah, just come back with where you think the money can come from.
Yes, let's get them both.
Okay. So what we'll do then is Sam will go ahead and put in the order and confirm the order so that they can get the work started, or at least ordered. And then we'll go ahead and just come back to council, and if it requires a supplemental appropriation, then we'll do so with a resolution. Otherwise, we'll just come back to you and provide you with an update and information as to where we pull the funds from.
Thank you.
Great.
At the 22,000, I was gonna ask, we had talked about solar poles, remember, on the highway, to see how much a solar pole was that Excel didn't have to play with, but as you're coming down Lake Gulch Road to turn and go into Central City, you know, it drops in there, and at night it is pitch black, and you come on that stop sign, and that's just it, it's really dangerous, and if anybody is coming either way, they're not visible, so light might help.
And as soon as we know what the proposed construction dates are, we'll come back and provide you with that as well.
Fabulous.
All right, council comments.
I have a comment, as usual. I met with a gentleman, Kevin Kearney, who is a new appointee to the Opera Board. He will be overseeing the properties. And we had a nice conversation at the Pink House. And I think we'll wait and see what gets done. But I do think that council should, we should be told what our $25,000 is being spent on and why the houses haven't been looked into, and if we can next year put in the budget that if we give them $25,000, it should be spent only on capital improvements. That's my suggestion and my comment.
None here.
Shirley, no comments? No comments? I wanted to remind everybody that our cleanup day is coming up soon, and volunteers are always very welcome. It's this coming Friday, starting at
9:30 is registration.
Okay, so hope to see all of you there. The other thing I wanted to mention is, again, is the event for the Belvedere, which is, the main purpose of it is just to let people ask questions about what's happening with the Belvedere. We're also asking you to bring your memories of things that you did in the Belvedere, or, you know, if you attended a wedding, anything like that. If you have pictures that were taken inside the Belvedere, that also would be really good to have for our grant application. Wanted to mention those two things. Anything else? Oh, one other thing, I think some people came tonight because they thought we were going to be discussing ATVs and OHVs. Do you know when that will be, that next discussion will be?
Yes, Madam Mayor, Council, with the OHV ATV proposal that was discussed at the work session on the 1st, initially we had intended and hoped that we would have the ordinance or a proposed ordinance on first reading tonight. However, there were a couple of meetings that we mentioned we needed to have with the Forest Service and some of the other stakeholders, including the county and the sheriff's office. So the meeting schedules couldn't take place earlier enough anyway, to be able to put that on first reading. So we'll have a meeting with one of the stakeholders tomorrow, the sheriff's office, and then also on Thursday evening, we'll be presenting, or at least making ourselves available to the Prospectors Run HOA to discuss the proposal as well as to field any questions or concerns. And that way we can bring some of that information back to the second reading as well as the public hearing. So right now we are hopeful that we'll have it on first reading at the special meeting of Tuesday, the 29th.
Okay, thank you. Okay, our next item is the last public forum for audience participation. No one has signed up, but if there is anybody who wishes to speak, the time is now. Seeing no one, we will now be going into an executive session, so we'll need a motion.
I move to go into executive session under section 24-6-4024B to discuss specific legal questions related to notice of claim submitted to the city dated January 26, 2018. I further move to reconvene the May 15th regular city council meeting at the conclusion of the executive session to provide instruction to city staff if required, or to adjourn the May 15th regular meeting.
We have a second?
Second.
Has been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So the motion carries. Thank you very much.
Not yet.